In the bustling heart of Ibadan, Ifedayo had found a soulmate in Akinlolu Roland, a young man from a wealthy background, but known for his warmth and integrity. They met on a rainy evening and were inseparable from then on, their love blossoming into a joyous engagement. Ifedayo looked forward to a life with Akinlolu, but there was a shadow over their happiness: his mother, Mrs. Folawe Roland. Mrs. Folawe Roland was a woman of high standard and an iron will. She believed Akinlolu, her only son, was destined for a wife of great wealth and prestige, not a simple woman from Ifedayo's humble background. She marked a disapproval during the wedding, but as soon as the festive ended, her fury began to show. Ifedayo, trying to be a dutiful daughter-in-law, visited Mrs. Roland often, offering gifts and helping around her home. But Mrs. Roland's eyes were always watching, her mouth ready to criticize. She complained about the way Ifedayo cooked, about the style of her clothes, and even about the way she looked at Akinlolu. "You don't know this girl's true colors," she told her son slyly. "Be careful, my son. Not everyone who smiles is pure in heart." Akinlolu, though devoted to his wife, but trusted his mothers deeply. As her word lingered, he began to second-guess Ifedayo's every action. Seeing her plan take root, Mrs. Folawe turned her manipulation into an act form. One evening, she told Akinlolu that she had seen Ifedayo speaking closely with a man. "They were standing too close for comfort," she whispered. She claimed he was just a friend, but I saw how they looked at each other. Akinlolu's heart pounded with doubt. When he asked Ifedayo about it, she was devastated. "Akinlolu, how could you believe such a thing?" she pleaded, tears in her eyes. But Mrs. Folawe's deception had already cast a shadow, and Akinlolu could not shake his unease. Ifedayo began to feel as if she were living in a nightmare. Mrs. Folawe's visits to their home grew frequent and even more malicious. She would often rearrange their things, make snide remarks about Ifedayo's family, and even tell the neighbors that her son had married a woman who was no better than a servant. Ifedayo felt her dignity slipping, yet she remained calm, hoping that her patience would soften her mother-in-law's heart. One day, Mrs. Folawe devised an even darker plan. She invited a family friend to spread rumor around the neighborhood about Ifedayo's supposed infidelity, painting her as an unworthy and cunning wife. "She's just after our family's good name and money," she told everyone who would listen. Soon, whispers and sideways glances followed Ifedayo everywhere she goes. Akinlolu, now caught between his mother's suspicions and his love for his wife, struggled. In his confusion, he began to question his own marriage, feeling as though his life had become a tangled web of deceit. It was then that Ifedayo's childhood friend Adebayo visited. Concerned about her unhappiness, he offered a listening ear, and Ifedayo poured out her sorrows. Little did they know, Mrs. Folawe had hired a spy to watch Ifedayo, and soon enough, Akinlolu received yet another twisted tale of betrayal. "Akinlolu, I warned you. She's meeting with man behind your back," Mrs. Folawe hissed, her voice filled with triumph. This time, Akinlolu could barely look at his wife. Ifedayo, devastated, tried one last time to reach her husband's heart. "Akinlolu, I have never been anything but faithful. Your mother is trying to break us apart," she said, her voice strong, yet filled with sorrow. Finally, a flicker of doubt about his mother entered Akinlolu's mind. Determined to find the truth, he began observing his mother's actions closely. One evening, he overheard her boasting to a friend, laughing about her cleverness in teaching that girl a lesson. Akinlolu was heartbroken as the reality of his mother's manipulation kept crashing down on him. With a heavy heart, Akinlolu confronted his mother. Mommy, you have poisoned our marriage with lies. I won't let you destroy my happiness any longer, he said, his voice trembling with anger and pain. Mrs. Folawe, shocked at her son's findings and confrontation, was at a loss for words. Returning home, Akinlolu fell to his knees, apologizing to Ifedayo for not trusting her. I should have known better. I am so sorry for the pain I caused you, he said, tears in his eyes. Though hurt, Ifedayo forgave him. Her love is stronger than the bitterness of betrayal. Together, they rebuilt their marriage, vowing to protect their love from any form of intrusion. Mrs. Folawe, realizing her son had broken free from her control, retreated, defeated and alone. Ifedayo's victory was bittersweet, sacred with the betrayal of the woman she had wanted to call mother, but she had proven the strength of her love and loyalty. And she knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, their love would stand as a fortress, unshaken by envy or lies.